Central Bank of Nigeria has increased the interest rate from 14% to 15.5%, and that's the highest benchmark in the last 20 years. This latest move by the CBN is to tame rising inflation, and it was done in consideration of the persistent rise in inflation rate and fragile growth. Nigeria's headline inflation also accelerated to the highest level in 17 years, standing at 20.52% as of August this year. This from 19.64% recorded in the previous month. The CBN says increasing the interest rate will narrow the inflation gap, which it says will help to restore the price instability or the price stability in the economy. Now, some analysts have described this hike in interest rate for 3 consecutive times this year alone as a way to lure foreign inflows into the country and ease the pressure on the naira. Let's get the views now of public finance and policy analyst Olusegun Elemo, who joins us now via Zoom. It's good to have you join us on TVC Breakfast. Welcome, Segun.
Thank you for having me. Happy to join.
Right. But how do you gauge this latest CBN response as a way to curb rising inflation in the country?
Well, I would say that the central bank is caught between the devil and the deep blue sea because on the one hand, the bank is looking to reflating the economy owing to the impact of COVID-19, the incessant recession that we had under this administration. So the bank is in a position, is in a fix between reflecting the economy and then implementing contractionary measures. Recall that it was the bank itself who started to provide stimulus packages to different sectors, including aviation, MSMEs, and the likes, and then provided ways and means to governments to be able to implement its programs where deficits, arises. So you could see that the bank at the time was looking to pump in money into the economy, and that was done in the interest, that if the bank is able to, provide more liquidity in the economy, perhaps the economy will be able to get its feet, back. Like I said, owing to the impact of COVID-19. But now we're now dealing with, different issues entirely. The issue of inflation, the continuous rise, the price of goods and services, and the bank now raising interest rates, means that is cutting liquidity inflows, and then is perhaps providing these contractionary measures as a way to limit the demands of citizens, chasing goods and and services, and that will also have its effect on the economy. But like I said, where the bank is right now is trying to ensure that this inflationary pressure doesn't continue. And then when you look at what's happening with the exchange rate as well, I feel that what the bank ought to have concentrated on is to accelerate production and not to tie its hands around raising interest rate.
All right, Segun, at this time, one would say, of course, this is not the first or even the second time that the bank is raising the MPR. And if it is said to be a measure to cut inflation and all of that, and the bank consistently has been raising the MPR, yet inflation has been on for the past 5 years and been, staying up there, would you say that the bank has run out of ideas because this is not really working as a strategy?
Well, not exactly that the bank has run out of ideas. You see, there are short-term measures that you can quickly implement, and then there are medium and long-term ideas that you can bring to the table. what the bank is focusing on right now, and I can say it, and I'm saying categorically, is providing short-term measures. And that will not solve the problem. Like you said, over the last 5 years, inflation has continued to rise. So my position is, let's focus on production. Today, for instance, look at how much waste is in the economy, and we're not producing anything. Our farmers are not on the farms, which means that there is no food. And when there is no food, people need to eat. As such, the little resources that they have to dispose will chase few, commodities in the market. It will push price up definitely. It's very simple. So rather than, for instance, the CBN also, raised CRR, which means that, banks will now have very little to loan out. This is not the time to, curb credits, especially to MSMEs who, have the wherewithal to drive production in the economy. So I think that rather than focusing on short-term strategy, which is raising interest rate, curb liquidity, and the bank feels, okay, if we're able to curb liquidity, it then means that people will have less money in their hands to chase the few products in the market. That will not solve the problem. It will increase inflation. What we should focus on are the medium and the long-term strategy, which should be built around, increasing production, and increasing production around food items, increasing production around, the sectors that will earn us, foreign exchange. We also have the current crisis in the petroleum sector, and that is impacting in many ways. In one way, we are not able to meet our, our OPEC quota. We are not able to generate money from that sector, and even the little we generate, you see, the NNPC covering, subsidy upfront on behalf of the federal government. And my position has always been that let us free up resources for subnational governments. And the way we can free up resources for subnational government, especially this subsidy issue, and for instance, allow, a free economy with regards, to petroleum, prices of petroleum products. And a state like Kano can decide to implement a subsidy. And what that means is that, Lagos will have more money for other development, outcomes where, in other places you don't have. So, but that means that you will have you will have, a subsidy regime that is not, centralized. And that will free up resources, for subnational governments. I think if we're able to do that, once resources are freed up for subnational governments, then we will be able to focus on production, enhance production, and accelerate productivity at subnational, which will infuse into this issue we're dealing with around inflation.
All right, one would expect that all of this that you have mentioned is something the CBN and all of those who are part of making this decision would want to look into. But we're wondering why they aren't looking in this direction. That's on the one hand. And on the other hand, I wonder what the implication is, this decision by the CBN, what the implication is for our borrowings as a country.
No, certainly, I hope that by raising interest rate, it also means that the CBN is cutting down on the ways and means lending to government. I assume so. Now, if it does happen that the CBN is also lowering its ways and means lending to government, it then means that the budget deficit in the 2023 budget will be challenging to raising liquidity to address. And that will also mean that the country will be looking externally for borrowing, because, domestic borrowing is not feasible anymore, because the CBN, while it's raising interest rate, is also raising the cash reserve ratio, which means that the banks will have, reduced liquidity to lend to its customers, including government. So I think that this is going to impact on our borrowing. And you know that the vice president recently, during his trip to the US, was, advocating for debt relief for the country. And also the president at the, UN General Assembly also, did the same. I believe that the government is acknowledging that we have fiscal crisis on our hands, and that the only way out now is perhaps, to have some debt reliefs from our creditors. These, like I said, are short-term measures that the CBN is, focusing on. We will need to look at the medium and the long term. But that also means that whatever discussion we're going to be having as the campaign kicks off, we will need to interrogate the policy ideas of the presidential candidates, gubernatorial candidates, and everyone going to the legislative arm, whether at the national and subnational level. We need to interrogate the ideas around addressing this fiscal condition that we're in.
Why do you think the CBN is not looking at these long-term measures that you have reeled out?
Well, I believe because of political expediency, we are going into the campaign. As such, there is, for me, I feel like, the minds of policymakers and those implementing public policies right now aren't settled, because we're entering new waters in our country due to the campaign. As such, everybody is looking at immediate. No one is thinking medium and long term. But in the end, we will need to address these challenges, implementing, long-term ideas, and that will mean focusing on productivity.
Let me take you up further on the point you made, lightly, if I may add, on the increase. You also noted the increase on the cash reserve ratio, and the CBN governor has said they are going to ensure they implement an aggressive implementation measure somewhat in a bid to mop up excess liquidity in the market. What's the implication of this for the banks, for the customers, and for the nation?
It's really going to impact on MSMEs more. MSMEs, for instance, even the credits that has gone to government, the ratio of credit that has gone to government in terms of ways and means, when you compare that to what has gone to MSMEs now in terms of microcredit, it is really huge. That gap is wide. So this idea that the CBN is coming up with, again, raising the CRR and trying to mop up excess liquidity is going to impact on MSMEs the more. And that will also hurt the economy in terms of productivity. And that's what we're saying, that, yes, I understand the position of the Apex Bank in trying to implement, immediate strategies to curb inflation, the exchange rates collapse, all of these fiscal issues that we currently have. But that in itself will not solve the problem that we're in. And we need to get that, into our minds. What will solve the problem ultimately is when we ease, resources to all tiers of government. And that will mean, decentralizing this idea of subsidy and not subsidizing the rich, because what we are having today is subsidizing the rich, and it's going to further expand inequality. So rather than doing that, let states implement their own subsidy, and they can target their subsidy around public transportation, around MSMEs, and leaving other strata of the economy to buy petroleum products at the market price. Once that is done, resources will be freed up for productivity. Governments at subnational level will be able to intervene in critical sectors, including agriculture. And then again, let me touch on this. The issue we also have on our hands around insecurity. And I believe that our military forces are dealing with this because it appears that things are getting calmer and calmer by the day as we move, incidentally, towards the elections. I don't know what the coincidence is, but if we're able to leverage on what our military forces are doing currently, it means that we can get farmers back on the farm, then improve on our agricultural produce. Then that will also cut down the price of food in the market. All of these are working together, and the CBN needs to recognize that there is no short-term solution to this. What the bank is currently implementing in terms of increasing interest rate, the CRR, I believe it's going to further. We need to reconsider.
Okay. We're losing your audio at the time, but I think you're back on now. Now, you mentioned exchange rates earlier on. Of course, we're talking about inflation here, which boils down to the value of the currency and all of that. Now, how does the multiple exchange rate compound this whole situation? Because there was a time we had close to about 11 exchange rates in Nigeria, where it depends on who you are and where you are resident or what you need the monies for and all of that. But in all, how does this multiple exchange rates we have in the country compound this whole situation?
Well, it's really, honestly, I don't know I don't know what the position of the bank is in unifying the exchange rate that we have. But what's happening currently now is that you see the problem with the airlines. Saying that they couldn't repatriate their funds to their home country. And the reason is also the disparity in the exchange rate. Ordinarily, the airlines would have gone to the I&E window or to the parallel market to get their repatriation done. But they want it done at the CBN rate. And this is affecting, different sectors of the economy. In the one hand is that you can't it's affecting liquidity, for instance, and then people are making abnormal profit from this. And I believe that if the CBN, for instance, is able to unify the exchange rate, bring it at par, it will limit the activities of speculators. Is what is driving the parallel markets. And you could see people patronizing the parallel market, because even for instance for importers, it's difficult getting foreign exchange to import products. And what that means is that when you go through the parallel market to get your foreign exchange to import products, you are going to sell at the prices that you are importing. So I think that, and again, is that it will not ease up, for instance, so you have, some sort of imbalance where some manufacturers or business people are patronizing parallel markets, while some are also getting, foreign exchange from the central bank. So I think that this is really affecting the economy and affecting economic activities, and is also partly responsible for the inflation that we're in. So I think that the Apex Bank needs to find a way to unify the different foreign exchange rates that are playing around the economy, so that we can balance up economic activities.
One would expect that the Apex Bank understands that. So what would it take to unify, all of these various the differences we have in the exchange rate?
Well, it's for the bank to understand and recognize that the official rate is not reflective of what the condition of the economy is as of today. I mean, you cannot be exchanging naira at that rate when your productivity is at this level, when your income is this poor, when your GDP is this poor, and when you're borrowing at this rate. So we need to be honest with ourselves. The current official window for the exchange rate is not reflective of the state of the economy. once the bank recognizes that, then it will be able to cover up where the gaps lies and do the needful. But more importantly is that, and I think government officials are also of the opinion, because I've heard the vice president also mention that the exchange rate today is not reflective of the economy. So the Apex Bank needs to look at that and do the needful.
In all of this, where do you even see the position of the Naira swinging to if and when we get to that expectation of a harmonized currency rate? Some have posited that because of the political campaign, we'll see better value for the Naira. Some have posited that it may be the dollar holding sway. What do you think?
Well, I don't want to speculate, but I foresee that there will be increased pressure on the Naira. And reason being that we aren't earning FX from the petroleum sector. We aren't earning more FX from other real sector, the technology sector. So we need to improve productivity around that, and I've provided policy alternatives, especially around the subsidy. But is that as we move into the campaigns, I believe there will be increased pressure on the Naira, and that will also mean that the Naira may further devalue against other foreign currencies. I don't want to speculate as to which exact position we might find the Naira during and after the campaign, but I believe that if we are able, perhaps, increase production and meet our production quota, and I understand that the government is looking in the direction of the Niger Delta and ensuring that we curb the menace of oil theft. If government is able to deal with that, increase production and earn more FX income from that angle, yes, we'll be able to intervene more, and implementation allow subnational government to implement their subsidy as they wish. Then we'll free up resources for productivity, and once that is done, we'll be able to scale up export activities. When we scale up export activities, whether in terms of food products or in terms of other sectors of the economy, that will enhance our currency, and we can begin to stabilize. But even the current parallel market exchange rate that we have today, you can see is going deeper and deeper and deeper by the day. And I believe there will be further pressure in the days ahead.
All right. Talking about debt relief, you mentioned it earlier on. Of course, we see how the government is trying to campaign for a debt relief. We've had it before. One would say, in fact, a lot of people are saying that there's just the easy way out that the government is seeking. But is Nigeria ripe for a debt relief at a time like this, even when some other African countries are being considered?
Well, I would say that there is no better way to deal with the fiscal crisis that we have in our hands today, other than the idea of debt relief. I see our debt is grown so big that even the government is the easy way out. But again, is to understand that we need to mobilize resources locally. We need to mobilize resources locally. And you could see that government agencies responsible for generating revenue aren't doing enough. As such, what are the quick wins? What are the quick way out?
Olusegun Elemothe, public finance and policy analyst. Thank you very much. If you can hear me, we've been battling the odds, talking about the connectivity. It's even great that we had you this far. We hope we can bring you some other time for your views on other issues regarding the state of the economy. So there we have it. Well, it remains to be seen how far this move will go. Like you said, it's not the first time, and Vero also noted that earlier, not the first time the government or the Apex Bank will, change or increase the monetary policy rate.
And the bank has said it will continue to increase.
He even said as much, that it will continue to increase, all in a bid. Some analysts share the view that yes, it could it will indeed have some form of downward impact on the rising inflation. It remains to be seen, but, cogent takeaways for me were, the obvious fact of the need to ramp up local production in the country. And of course, he stressed again that all of this will still continue to have direct adverse impact on MSMEs.
So long as there is no production, all of these are just palliatives that will not last long. Recall the last 10 years, if I have to put it that way, CBN has been using our foreign exchange to defend. You remember that? Defending the Naira.
Yeah.
Foreign exchange to how long will you keep defending the Naira? Allow Naira to be an adult. the Naira remained a baby. And they were feeding him or her, it's a her, feeding her with feeding bottle.
Who says it's a her?
No,
don't start the
no, in fact,
it
makes it a her. Nigeria is a she. Nigeria is a she. So the point there is that allow the Naira to be an adult. And when it is an adult, it plays with other currencies. Although, of course, it's not a black and white situation.
Absolutely.
But there has to be some courage to say, okay, let us do this once. It's just like government saying we'll remove subsidy. Of course, we know the implication of that, but there has to be some courageous move to say, okay, because we are seeing at the other side of this decision, Nigeria will be better off. That's what we're looking at.
That is why he mentioned the aspect of politics. We can't be playing politics with everything, because at the heart of this, the people are bearing the brunt of all of this decision if you are not being courageous to take the right step. I mean, the impact of this, what is going to be, where businesses cannot thrive, a lot of people will lose their jobs. It ends up being the people bearing the brunt at the end of the day. That courage, I wonder how it's difficult to just take.
I think a lot of politicians would like to be politically right. And the moment you want to be politically right, then you won't do the obvious. And the real things are, in fact, like the exchange rate, for instance. If you say, okay, Naira, find your value in the market, it's going to shoot up to about 1,000, 1,005, or even 2,000 Naira to the dollar.
Right.
But if there is a strategy to say, okay, we're going to have this in the short term, for a period of time, you're going to have the Naira at that for a period of time. But after a little while, as production increases, as all production from oil to agriculture and all of that begins to increase, and manufacturing increases, and then they suck up employment and all of that, Naira, the value of the Naira will begin to... So that's the point. There has to be a strategy.
I mean, one would expect they understand all this.
We hope we get to that point. We hope we get to that point. Well, bottom line, they say everybody is concerned, but, it's the response that matters.
At the end of the day.
At the end of the day, indeed.